Okay, so when you decide on your design, look at it and evaluate it and decide how you're going to create it. You don't have to use every element that's in the design, but you want the overall look. So I'm going to take this profile and I scaled this image after I went to my insert and attach. I scaled the image to be 6 units, 6 inches is what I have it at, but 6 units in length. I don't want my car to be longer than that, and I want my width around like 2.5, 3 inches in width. If you look at a standard Matchbox car or a toy car, typically you have that foundation. So I started out by just recreating that profile. Now, this is an isometric view, yes. However, you can just extrapolate where you want your pieces to be. I'm extrapolating how far this wheel is back from the front and how far this piece is from the fender, okay? Now, again, this is your interpretation. It's okay to be a little bit different about it. It doesn't matter, but what you need to be doing is utilizing your tools to create it. So you'll go and just outline it. Now, what I ended up doing was deciding where I wanted the base to be, where I wanted the wheels to lay out in a very simple grid-like fashion that you can go ahead and change as it becomes more and more prevalent in the design. So say these are off a little bit, you can shift them forward or back, making sure your isometric is on until they actually align with how you want it to lay out. Then what I would do and what I did was start with your wheels. So you'll go ahead and you'll start with your wheels first, and then you have a basis to create this opening in the car body, and you can just do that with an offset. Just make the decision on how far out you want that to be, remembering that you're in a 6 by 2.5 body, okay? Also, you need to know the size of your axle, right? So mine is rather small. I just used a dowel. You can use a metal piece. It really just depends on what you have, but you're going to need that to develop your car. So I did most of this with lines and grid work. I did some fillets in here, some offsets. This is just an offset to recreate this portion of the body. If you can see here, it actually does come off of the body a little bit, and I decided to keep that intact. I also wanted this opening to remain intact, so I did create the window. Now, I did that as an offset, but I also decided that I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted the windows to be, so I played with it. I played with the angles. So just go ahead and decide how you want it to look, but use larger lines to set up how it's going to be and how it's going to lay out, and then trim it out. And then once you trim it out, you'll fillet it. So this was originally an offset of this upper piece here, and then I created another line similar to this one back here, okay? Which can just be a simple copy if you want it to be, okay? And then this is, okay, it's not quite where I want it to be, so I'm gonna shift it, okay? Then make your box. This down here is another offset. So slowly but surely your body will come into view. Now you need to make sure that it's joined. You need to make sure you're using your snaps, or you won't be able to press pull it. So if I do want this outline to be above the main body, I'm going to need to press pull that. So what you're going to do is you're going to press pull this shape. Okay, just go to your press pull and decide how big it's going to be, right? So it's not large, it's very thin. So go ahead and decide if you're going to want it at 0.125. That gives you a little bit of lip, but maybe not too much, okay? So play with it. This is not something that you need to, a jumping off point for the design. So here you have the actual outline of this portion created, right? So I created it, and then I changed and made some little fillets. I can come back later and fillet this all out so it's not a sharp edge for printing. That would look nice. That would develop it a little bit better. But I'm going to leave this here. And then what I decided to do was go ahead and copy my outline so that I could create the body. Okay, so if we look at this, here's my body. This has now been left over here, and I just took the body with the wheels. So this will be an opening, and I'm going to go ahead and press pull this. Now I press pulled it 2.5 inches, but I went down. So if I look at it from the side, you'll see that this piece is above the plane and this is below the plane. So it'll make it easier for me later when I want to place it on top of it. So if I wanted to do that now, I would select this, copy it. I would use a consistent point of attachment. So I would say maybe the center of this wheel, and then use the center of the wheel I have here. And if I look at it, you can see that it's above the other, okay? I'm not gonna do that right now because I wanna mess with this a little bit more, okay? So we'll go back to where we were before. Now, if you look at this, it has the hole here, but it will not have the hole in the windshield per se. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna make that opening. Now, because we already created this, we don't need to worry about that. However, if you make it with a rectangle, it's going to eat into this doorway because this is not a straight line. So the easiest way to manage it is make your rectangle, decide on where it's going to align with the body. You can see it here. I actually filleted my edges because I didn't want it straight. It does not need to happen that way. I just did it. And then I'm gonna look at it straight on from the side. And I'm gonna put it back in wireframe to make my life easier. And then I'm gonna decide where I want this sliced. So I'm gonna take a line, I'm gonna stick it down here, and then I don't want it to cut into the hole I created, so I'm gonna kind of bring this line aligned with this little corner piece. Then remember, slice, go to solid, go slice, the solid box, and then pick your plane that you're slicing along. Make sure you get this corner or it's gonna be weird, okay? So then this should be its own entity and it can go away. Now what that's gonna allow me to do is subtract this and create the hole for the windshield. So subtract, I want this piece and I want this piece gone. So now I should have a hole if I look at it in conceptual, okay? Now, I want, before I move forward, to have my axle created. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my axle. The thing about it is, it can't be the same exact size as the hole in the wheel. So go ahead and offset it. You're gonna want your tolerance to be between 0.02 to 0.05. So I'll have that and it'll hang out here for when I need it later, okay? So the next thing you're gonna do is make the wheels. And I made the wheels without this hole. The reason I did that is because I'm going to turn it later and delete that opening, but I don't want the hole, I want it to look like a solid piece in my wheel. Now, if you want yours to go all the way through and you're gonna put a pin to lock it in place instead of glue, that's fine, you can totally do that. So you would just create your axle and it would come all the way through the wheel and then you would have the hole. So at this stage, I have my body, I have the outline detail, and I have my wheels. Now, with the wheels and the outline, I can flip those with mirror to the sides I want them to be on as an eventuality, okay? So the next thing you need to work on is creating the wheel well, okay? So it needs to be deep enough in that your wheel will not interfere with this opening. And remember, if I'm not happy with its depth, I can always use my press pull and push it in. That is not a problem, okay? So I went with 2. I want the whole body is 2.5. I'm gonna have it at 2. Does it work? You have to look and see if it interferes later on. So how I created this portion was I just snapped a line across this body to cover the opening. And then I decided on how much of the axle I wanted to have embedded. So I didn't want a flimsy piece of the body surrounding the axle, so I made it a little bit larger. You don't have to. You can go ahead and fillet this and make it a little more attractive. I just left it as a circle with those sharp angles. So all you have to do is, once you've done your offset for where the axle is going to go through, so remember, you have the hole in the wheel, you have the axles a little bit smaller than the hole, so you can slide it into the hole of the wheel, and then the axle has to slide through this portion of the body so it will rotate freely. So you're going to have to offset that original diameter by enough that you'll be able to slide the axle through. So I would lean towards the larger of the tolerances, maybe 0.05 or bigger, so that it goes all the way through. Now you can always do test pieces to make sure what you're just. Once I have all of these pieces in place, I'm just going to trim this out. That and that. Okay, so it looks kind of similar, and you'll just press pull it. It should grab it. Sometimes, oh, look at that. This is not on the right spot, so just go ahead and move it. Happens to everyone. There. Hopefully, whoops, this will work out fine here. And now when I hit press pull, hopefully it grabs it, okay? And I want it to go this way, 2.5. And then I'm going to push this in the 0.25 and 0.25. Oops. I think my body is 2.5, so I needed this to be 2, not 2.5 like I made it originally. Okay, so now I have pretty much my body the way I want it to be. If you notice, once I create it, you're gonna have to union it if you want to do any filleting to the edges or any details like that. So go ahead and union it once you have that body in place, okay? So now, you still have a center point for that circle. So if you want to go ahead and put this onto your body, you should be able to if you made it correctly. Now, holding my breath and hoping that I did it right. Okay, and then the wheels should be the same. They should have the same location. I'm going to put it, I'll put it here, where they set there, okay? Now, one thing is, did I make them too thick? And I did. So let's not do that. We want both of these to pull out from the body. And actually, I guess they're not too thick. I just placed them on the wrong circle. So I'm going to have mine protrude just a little bit from the body. You may need to put in a little separator piece here if you want. I don't want any friction, so I'm going to leave them like that. Okay. Now, maybe we should go ahead and fillet our edges. Okay, that's obviously way too big. You can see that. So just remember, press your down arrow and change the radius. It'll tell you what it is. So maybe we try 1/8. Okay, and if we like that, we can put it on both. Now make these changes before you do your mirror. Okay. Now, the next thing you want to do is bring this piece and these pieces over, okay, to the other side. So if I do this, if I select all of these, I look at it from the front, I can't just move it. I want them perfectly placed. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go back home and go to your coordinates and place it on the plane you want to flip it with. Go ahead and change the view. Select everything that's going to move with it. Okay. Mirror and find your midpoint. Put on ortho and say no to erasing. So now you should really have your body, okay, and your wheels. And when you go to print this, you're going to want your pieces unioned. So hold on. A lot of times when I create, have multiple copies, because I might not realize something I've done is going to inhibit the overall design until after I've already done it and it's saved, and I went out and I didn't save it. I didn't print it. I didn't do what I needed to do with it, and now I'm kind of stuck. I don't want to be stuck. I want it to be created. So the next thing I want to do is place my axle in, which is here. Oops, not both, just the one. I'm going to copy that. Make sure you grab its center on the right plane, or the right place. Come back to your overall car and place it, okay? Now, it's going to be hard to grab, so make sure you may have to put it in wireframe for that. And I would make sure you get the top one and not the bottom. And again, you'll come along, make sure you get the right one and place it. Okay, so let's look at it. Now, if I look at this in X-ray, I should see body, wheel, and if I can grab it, there's the axle. And I shouldn't, if I type in interfere, if I can spell, if I go and if I remember how to use interfere, do not interfere. See that? So it's not like union where you select both objects and you're unioning. It's select the one object and then which does it interfere with X or Y. Now you'll have to hide the wheel, right? So say you do isolate and hide both of them. So you can check the axle. And then you'll have to hide the car to do the same with the wheel. But that's your car. So then what you'll do is leave it on this plane, and I'll show you how to do just the one. So if I select this and I go export, other formats, and see it's already a lithograph, stereolithograph. So I would say car body, depending, you can name it whatever you want. And save it. Now, it's going to be there as a stereolithograph. That's the file you're going to use. Okay, so go ahead, develop your own. Make sure you don't have any interference. Make sure you're developing it correctly. And that will be your project.